Um, all right, great. So thanks everyone for being here, and we'll just go ahead and get started now.
Okay, so thank you so much for volunteering to judge with us. We absolutely cannot run debate tournaments without you. So we are super, super grateful for your time and your energy and giving up an entire Saturday to spend with our students. If anybody's feeling nervous at all, please don't. This activity is designed to literally take anybody off the street and have them be able to be a judge. So there's no qualifications required other than the fact that you care. And the fact that you took the time to come to this judge training tells me that you do care. So we're all ready. You have all the qualifications that you need. A little bit about the New York City Urban Debate League. We create equitable access to academic debate opportunities for historically underserved populations so that we can raise the future leaders of tomorrow. This is something that's really important to us, and it'll go into kind of the ethos of our of how we judge and how we run our league. So the most important thing to know is that this is the teaching league. We're not here to identify America's, the next great top debater. That's not what we're here to do. We truly believe that every single person who has the opportunity to debate benefits from debate, and they get better just by participating in the activity. So we're here to teach, and we want to make sure that every student has an awesome experience, whether they win the round, lose the round. We just want them all to grow while they're here. Now, and that can be, you're growing from wherever you are. Not all of us are going to speak like President Obama. That's okay. If we speak a little bit better than we did today, if we read a little bit better than we did today, if we can think a little bit more critically, if we can interact with arguments, those are all wonderful, wonderful things. And we want all of our students to have that access. As a judge, you have a unique opportunity to support our students as they grow. So this is really important. They're looking at you and saying, all this work I've done for the last month, and now I'm spending my whole Saturday, that's not a school day, basically doing an academic activity. Did I do a good job? Is it worth it? Should I have spent the time? Right? So a judge who shows them that what they did was awesome and really important makes them feel like, yes, I belong here. That's something that's really important. We are here to provide this access for our students because many of our kids don't think that they belong in academic spaces. So you're reinforcing for them that, yes, you belong here. You belong in this academic space is actually a very powerful message. Now, why do we think that debate is so important? It's shown to improve literacy, academic achievement, both likelihood to go to college, but that's great. What do you do when you get there? Your college readiness, if you can write a debate case, you can write a paper. And then most importantly, most of our debaters become civically engaged afterwards. So they're not just learning about these arguments in the round, we're training them to then go and change policy and make the world better and have more voices at the table. Now, does this all happen magically because they came to one debate tournament? They're like, you know what? From now on, I'm going to start paying attention in school and I'm going to go to college. No. So the research shows that it takes about 15 rounds of debate to see the impacts of debate. So we've got 4 rounds this Saturday. Who can guess how many more tournaments we need them to come to in order to get the full impact of debate?
Three more?
3 more, yes. Ding, ding, ding. So 3 more rounds of debate, 3 more tournaments, right? And it's the sustained time in the activity. It's being at practice with their awesome coaches, doing the research, practicing, really getting comfortable with the material. That's what gives them all these wonderful impacts. So we want to encourage our students and give them a reason to come back. That is your most important job for the day. They need to get back on the subway, their city bike, their bus, however it is that they got their Zoom call. We need to get them back on the bus for the next time. So some essential practices for judges. We need for you to make this a safe place for students. You are going to be the only adult in the room. So you may have this image of debate that the kids are debating in front of a large audience. Maybe you think there's going to be a lot of judges. It's just you and 4 kids in a room. So, occasionally you'll have an observer, but for the most part, it's just you and those kids. So you are the adult in the room. You are the one that is making this a safe space for our students. So that's something that's really important. In our league, something we're very proud of that is an integrated league. So we have students here from some of the most expensive private schools in the city. And we also have students who live below the poverty line. And we try to create a space where everybody can learn from each other and interact with one another. So when you judge the debate round, please do not judge them on their clothing. Do not judge them on their internet connection, background noise when they speak. Some of our students can't afford to have nice fancy suits. It's also kind of uncomfortable to wear that if you're crouched in the corner of your apartment trying to find a quiet space. It's not always easy to be able to commandeer an entire room for the whole day. People don't always have great internet connection, and some of our kids are watching a baby brother or sister while they're participating in the debate tournament. We want to make them comfortable, and we judge the round based on the arguments, and that's it. Please, if you have an opportunity, read through the NSDA implicit bias pamphlet. People have implicit biases, right? We're not judging you for that. You may have a bias about the topic. You may have bias about many different things. The important thing is that you check that bias, right? You ask yourself, like, well, why do I find myself, believing this person more or agreeing with this person? Or, do I kind of do I hate my experience having taken the SAT, ACT, and I never want to see that test again? Or am I like, wow, number 2 pencils are like the thing that I love the most in this world, right? So what is it? Why are you feeling a certain way? And just check that it's not something that you brought in with you. You must keep your cameras on during the debate round. It's really important. It's a very powerful thing to make a student feel heard. So having your camera on shows them that they've been heard. As you know, you're going to have to pick a winner for the debate. And obviously, whoever you didn't pick just feels that you didn't really listen to them. If only you had heard them, you would know why they actually won the round. So it's important that you keep your camera on so that they can feel that they have been heard. Again, keep your camera on. Please don't be in another window on Instagram or Facebook or answering some emails. Please give the students your undivided attention. They've prepared really, really hard for this, and they want to, we want them to feel like that effort was worthwhile. The students also do not have to keep their cameras on. Sarah Grace will explain that in a bit. Please keep time for your debaters. We'll talk about what that time is, but that's something that's important for you to do. Sometimes they'll tell you, yes, we can keep time for ourselves. I've had this happen in very experienced debate rounds. And then 7 minutes into Crossfire, I'm like, wait a minute, this went on for a really long time. And I'm like, Crossfire was supposed to end 4 minutes ago. So please keep time. Sometimes everybody just really, really gets into it. And most important thing, once you receive your assignment, head straight to round. Don't stop for a cup of coffee. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Just go straight to your round to keep the tournament running on time.
Okay, so that was some bigger overview stuff. And now I'm going to lead us into the logistical aspects of attending your round and filling out your ballot. So this is fun. This is all the technical stuff that you need to know. You heard about the ethos of the league, which hopefully made everybody feel good and happy and excited to participate. And now I'm going to tell you all the stuff that you need to know to get there. Step 1, open 2 tabs in your computer. Tab number 1, tabroom.com. Tab number 2, tournaments.debate.nyc. Tournaments.debate.nyc is how you're going to get to the round that you're judging. Tabroom.com is how you're going to turn in your ballot to us. You'll need both of those opened during the day while you're a judge. Step 2, you have your tabs open. You're going to wait. You're going to wait for your room assignment to come. Okay. So for our tournament coming up on Saturday, we have 4 rounds of debate.
One question.
Oh, Vivian, yes.
Are we waiting in the judges' lounge? Where are we waiting?
Good question. If you want to come to the judges' lounge, you're doing a training right now. This same training is going to be happening in the morning in the judges' lounge. You don't need to attend it again. If you want to come to the judges' lounge to check in and say hi, we love to see you. We love to know that you're here and you're awake. But if not, you could wait until the room assignment comes and just start the process then.
Okay.
So when you get your room assignment, you're going to get a text and you're going to get an email from Tabroom. The text is going to look something like this. So let's talk about what's in this text. We see 2 schools, Salk School of Science, and we see Q300 is the other school. We see which side of the debate they're both on. Now this might say, in this instance, it says prop op. It might say pro con. It might say af neg. But this is what you're seeing. You're seeing which side of the debate, which school, and then you see the names of the debaters. You are going to be judging public forum, so you're only going to see 2 names. The teams typically have 2 debaters each. So you're going to see what side of the debate, you're going to see the school, you're going to see the names of 2 debaters, and then you're going to see your name. Hopefully, if you're getting this text, it's for you and you see your name. You're also going to see what time the round starts. You will get this text usually 15 minutes before the round starts. But like Amisha said, don't wait 15 minutes. When you get the text, go to your round. But where is my round, you're asking me? You see this room number here, PAR 227. That's an example of a room that might be assigned to you. I'm just going to quickly show you what it looks like when you go to your room. Tournaments.debate.nyc, that tab I mentioned from earlier, when you log into it, and you'll get all the instructions about how to log into it. When you log into it, you're going to see the judges lounge. That's where you would go to the training in the morning, the help desk if you have any issues. And underneath is going to be a long, long list of rooms that have debate rounds going in them. Go back to your text, reference your room number, find your room number in the list listed on classrooms. Once you enter that room, it'll take you to a Zoom embed, and you'll essentially just be in a Zoom room like this with the debaters whose names were in your texts. So once you enter the room and the debaters start coming in, remember, you're the adult in the room. You're making this experience happen in the round for them. Say, hello, I'm Judge Sarah. I'm the one who's watching the round today. Get all of their names. Like Amisha mentioned, get their pronouns, ask them what school they go to, and confirm if they're the first or the second speaker for their team. So we want to do that because we want to make sure that we're watching the right debaters. We want to make sure that the debaters whose names were in our text are now in our Zoom room. If they're not, please do not start the round. Please do not start the round with debaters who shouldn't be there. If a debater tells you, it's just me, my teammate's not coming, I'm debating alone, we need to know that. So if that's the case, we need you to log out of the room, log back into the building, and come to the help desk. The help desk is where everybody's going to be if you have an issue with anything. If the time that the round is supposed to start has passed and your debaters are all still not there, hang out for just a minute. Chances are we know and we're looking for them. But if it's been 5 to 10 minutes, maybe it's time to log out and come to the help desk and say, I'm missing debater this name. We'll find them for you. We have all the coaches' phone numbers and we'll work to track them down. Hopefully, though, you're not going to have any of these problems and all of your debaters are going to be there, and then the round is going to start. Now, you're going to ask me, Sarah, what do? I didn't get a text. I didn't get an email. Am I still judging the round? Okay, you should get a text and an email. If you don't, there's a way to check if you were supposed to get a ballot. You're going to log into Tabroom. And when you've logged into Tabroom, you'll know that you have because you'll see your email address here. If you haven't logged in, you'll see login, and then you need to click login and log into Tabroom. Once you see your email address here, this is your best friend. When you click your email address, your ballot should pop up. So in this video, you see the person clicks her email address and there's her ballot. And there it goes again. And there's her ballot, okay? So then your ballot will autofill here. If when you click your name, you don't see any ballot and you didn't get a text or an email, the chances are you were not assigned a ballot for that round. If you were not assigned a ballot for that round, please hang out for 15 minutes after the round was supposed to start. I know this is going to shock everybody in here, but sometimes judges do not come to their rounds. I know. And I know none of you would ever do that, but insanely, it does happen sometimes. There'll be lots of times when you won't get a text at 9:15, but you will get a text at 9:40. So we ask that you be checking for texts throughout the time until the round is officially started. So if the round is supposed to start at 9:30, you come to Tabroom at 9:45 and still don't see anything, you're probably off the hook for round one. One more fail-safe, you don't see a ballot pop up here. This yellow button on the side, current ballots and paneling, that's one more fail-safe. You can click that. And if still nothing pops up, you definitely didn't get a ballot for round one. Okay. Now let's go back to when you did get a ballot. You're in the room, you've introduced yourself, you got the schools, you got the teams, you got the pronouns. Everyone is present. You're ready to start the round. So in Tabroom, on that little video I just showed, you maybe notice that once you click your name at the top and your ballot autofills, a button is going to come up that says start. It might say start round. Either way, when all the kids are in the room, it's time to start the round. And that tells us in tab room, everything is going good. The judge is there, the kids are there, things are moving on schedule. So you're going to want to click that button, start round. It tells everybody working on the back end of the tournament that things are going good. Once you hit start round, we're off to the races. The debaters are ready to go. So as Amisha mentioned, keep your camera on while they're debating, mute while they're speaking, keep time for the debaters. We're going to tell you more about that in a second. And try to have a notebook or something by you so you can take notes on their arguments. Sometimes it moves really fast and you feel like you're in a big flurry. Anything that you manage to write down might save your life later when you go to write your feedback, because you're like, what did I just see? And then you look at your notebook and you're like, oh, that was the argument they made. Okay, great. I can focus my feedback on that. So take notes during their arguments. Now, what does a public forum debate round look like? You're wondering, I know. Definitely Nathan's wondering, because that's what he's here to find out about. So now Amish is going to tell you all about what to expect from the round of debate. Essentially, what are the debaters going to be doing? So Amish, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, thanks, Sarah Grace. So public forum debate is a 2-on-2 format. So you have 2 students versus 2 students. On occasion, you'll only have 1 student on a side. That could be because there's an odd number of students on their team. Maybe somebody got sick on the way there. You judge that person as though there were 2 people in the room. You don't judge them any differently. They don't get extra points because they worked so much harder, and they don't lose points because you're like, wow, maybe you don't have any friends. That's why you're debating by yourself, right? So we judge them exactly the same. The pro team is arguing for the resolution. SAT, ACT should be removed as a factor for college admissions. They are not arguing for anything else. The con team is telling you the SAT, ACT should not be removed. They're arguing against the resolution. It's not, maybe we should do something else instead. Maybe we should kind of sort of keep it, but not make it the main factor. None of that is allowed in public forum debates. So you're either for the resolution if you're the pro team. If you're the con team, you are against the resolution. In our league, there's no coin tosses. We tell you who is the pro team and who is the con team. Pro always goes first in our league. So what happens in the round, you're asking? Well, the first speaker on the pro is going to get up and they are going to give you their case, which is 2 to 3 main reasons why you're voting for them. Why the SAT, ACT should not be removed as a factor for college admissions, or whatever the resolution happens to be. Not every reason, just 2 to 3. The con team is then going to get up and tell you 2 to 3 reasons why it should not be removed as a factor for college admissions. These speeches are pre-written, they're written at home, so they are not responsive to each other. This is just a speech that they've written 4 minutes each. Now, each of these speakers is going to have a crossfire. These 2 speakers are going to have a crossfire. This is a space in which they can ask each other questions. It is a space, as you will see, only speaker ones are involved, no judges. So as much fun as it is in there, you don't get to say, you know what, I have a question, so let me ask that during crossfire. Debate's super fun. We know everybody wants to do it. We'll have an adult tournament later in the year and you're more than welcome to participate, but you cannot participate in this debate. Please do not ask any questions. Okay, so they're going to ask each other some questions. Then you're going to, so just something else to know about Crossfire, it's a really lovely place that people like to make decisions, but Crossfire is a bit like Vegas. What happens in Crossfire stays in Crossfire. So when I say to Sarah Grace, isn't it true you made up all your evidence?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so Sarah Grace says, yes, you did, right? She doesn't lose the round at that point. My partner in the next speech is going to say, Sarah Grace herself told you she made up all of her evidence. So that has to come out in the next speech. Why do we say this? Because if pro gives a really good case, you're like, that sounds great. And then con gets up there and they say something and you're like, that sounds great. And then you're like, oh no, I have to make a decision, right? So you're kind of like, well, let's see who's in Crossfire. And maybe you're voting for the person that's louder in Crossfire, who dominates more in Crossfire. Those are things that we don't want to do. We're voting on the arguments. So, okay, so we've had this Crossfire. They've asked each other some questions. Again, if somebody's not really getting in there, it's not for you to intervene. It's only for you to intervene in the round if the round becomes unsafe. If someone says something sexist, racist, makes a slur of any kind, calls, like says something that's like inappropriate. But if it's just that, Sarah Grace is better at asking questions than me and I can't really get myself in there and she's getting more airtime, that's part of the skill of debating. So now the pro second speaker is going to tell you why what they told you in their con case is not a good idea. That's not really true. Here's why it actually works better for us. They told you this is going to affect a lot of people. It doesn't really affect that many people. Maybe it's not really going to happen. They told you this, and here's why whatever they told you that's bad is actually a great thing. Now, the con rebuttal speaker is going to do the same thing about the pro case. Now we know all about crossfire. Those two speakers get to have a crossfire. Now, our first speaker from pro is going to come back up and tell us, okay, you heard 16 minutes of speeches, 6 minutes of debates. What is this round really about? They might not talk about everything. It's a summary. So they're going to pick up the main points that they think are useful, right? That they want to continue to talk about in the debate. Con summary speaker does the same thing. And then we get to everybody's favorite part of the debate tournament or the debate round. Everybody, all four kids get to yell at each other and ask questions at the exact same time. What could possibly go wrong, right? So we have that. And then we have our final focus, which I like to say is your reason for decision speech or why I won the round speech. So you're telling us, okay, judge, these are the issues that came up. Here are the issues you should be voting on. You're voting for pro because of X, Y, and Z. Con is saying the same thing. They're saying, hey, you've heard these issues. You're voting for us because of these reasons. Something about final focus. This isn't your big reveal. It's not a dramatic ending to the round. So you don't get to just all of a sudden be like, aha, and I saved the best for last. Here are like a whole bunch of things that I never mentioned before. Whatever happens in final focus needs to have come up earlier in the round. It's not a place to bring up new evidence. So that's your debate round. Then they shake hands if they were live, maybe elbow bump these days, and you say great round, and then we get to your part of the round. One other thing that I want to mention is both teams get 4 minutes of prep time. So 4 minutes each, 8 minutes total. And that can be used throughout the round. Anywhere you see one of those white boxes, that's a space for prep time. It doesn't need to be used all at once. It can be used in pieces. We'll show you our timer later, and you can kind of keep track of it that way. But you can use like 30 seconds. Sometimes they just say, can you run the clock? I'll tell you when to stop. If you see debaters are struggling, and even if you don't, encourage them to use prep time. Students often are like, no, they're allowed to talk to their partner during that time. It is a really good opportunity for them to collect their thoughts. They're sometimes reluctant to use it because they think they need to save it all, but you don't get any extra points if you save prep time. So please encourage students to use prep. I saw a question. Yeah, go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, I guess I can't really get my brain around what the crossfire looks like. Is it people asking questions and the other people are answering the questions, or they're just asking questions that subsequent speakers will address?
So
and
no,
also, can I just look? Is it also sort of a free for all where you kind of said that everybody talks at the same time? How does that look, and what are we supposed to do about that?
So you don't do anything about it. Crossfire, the first crossfire is only between the first two speakers. So I asked Sarah Grace, you mentioned this point about the SAT, that it costs like all of this money to do this, but aren't there free resources? Sarah Grace says yes or no. Then she says, can I have a question? And she'll ask a question. We go back and forth a little bit on
But
that.
generally speaking, the two people in that round, at least for the first crossfire, sort of respect each other's time, or does one try to monopolize?
There is no time. People all try to monopolize. Everybody wants to get more airtime in the crossfire, unless they're being rude and saying like, you're not allowed to ask any questions, or no, you can't speak. Other than that, whoever kind of gets in there, that's who gets in there. Unless they're making it unsafe, you don't say anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
It looks like Alexandria has a question.
Yeah, just two questions. So I think when I was debating, I think it was a little different than now. So let's say, I'll say affirmative and negative because that's what I know. So let's say affirmative goes first, and then the speaker from negative asks them questions, right? And then that question is over, then negative goes up and brings their evidence, and then affirmative asks them questions. Is it still like that, or it's not like that anymore?
No, so there's no evidence in Crossfire, or there doesn't have to be, there could be, but it's just question and answer. So I'm saying, Sarah Grace, you said this.
No,
and
no,
then-
not evidence. I mean, like when they present their case. So affirmative will present their case first,
Mhm.
and then negative will ask affirmative questions based on the
No.
evidence that they present.
So
No, it's not
affirmative
like
gonna
that. Okay,
present their case, and then negative's gonna present their case, and then they're gonna have Crossfire.
got it.
That's
Okay,
at the same time.
So
Yeah.
Okay,
just to clarify, the 4 minutes that AFA Pro has is uninterrupted time with no questions. And then
Yeah.
cons for speaker or negs for speaker, 4 minutes of uninterrupted time with no questions, followed by then 3 minutes where they can both ask each other questions.
and are we allowed to not disclose in the end?
You should
Or
not
do we-
disclose.
We'll get to that later, but
Okay.
yeah, we ask you to not disclose your winner.
Okay,
Nathan, question?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what the difference is between the summary speech and the final focus speech. Should I be judging them differently?
You and all of the debate coaches in America are wondering that question. So summary, well, so here's the thing, right? If you're giving the first summary, you have some debate experience, Nathan?
Yes.
Yeah, not public forum, but yes.
Yeah, so basically the rebuttal speaker, like that's the first time that pro has an opportunity to respond to the rebuttal. Right, so they're basically like giving you their responses to the con rebuttal. And then and they're basically saying like, okay, this is what we're gonna like carry through on the round, right? Typically, like, I mean, for more experienced debaters, if it's not in summary, it shouldn't be in final focus.
Okay.
So they're kind of
Sounds-
deciding what they're keeping and what they're dropping, like what they're gonna go for in final focus.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. I'm not going to get too hung up on the difference then, but
Yep.
that sounds good. Thanks.
And then just one more question I saw. Yes, John.
Yeah. Do we have this visual as a printable graphic organizer to help us write notes as we go along?
Yeah, we're going to share this presentation with you. If you put your email address on the document in the chat, which I'll just put it in the chat again, but everyone put your email address there so that we can send you this. Also, we're going to have our tab room blast this out on Friday morning. So you can definitely have this right next to you during it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so Amisha was just talking about prep time.
I think we
Sorry,
need
is
to do
it-
evidence, right?
Yes, well, let's talk about evidence.
So one other thing in public forum debate, it's like how we like to keep people honest, is that you have to be able to produce your evidence. So when we're having this debate and Sarah Grace says, it costs people $50,000 to prep on average to prep for the SAT, ACT. And I'm like, really? I did a lot of research on this topic and I never saw that. So I say, Sarah Grace, can I see your evidence where you said that it cost the average family $50,000 to prep for the SAT, ACT? Now, at that moment, I put my pencil down. I can't do anything. And Sarah Grace is going to look for her evidence. Now, this might be a little bit hard for people online. A lot of our students are using iPads. They don't necessarily have a device where they can toggle between screens very easily. So we want to give them a couple of minutes, but we can't give them like 10, 15 minutes to look for evidence. So after like about 5 minutes, we kind of need to move on. So what happens? But let's assume that Sarah Grace is able to produce her evidence. So she maybe cuts and pastes it and puts it into the chat. At that point, my prep time starts. So this comes out of my prep time. Sarah Grace can prep. She can do whatever she wants. I'm reading the evidence. As soon as I say, okay, that's it. I've got it, Judge. My prep time ends. So it comes out of the prep time comes out of the person asking for the evidence. Okay. So now what happens if Sarah Grace isn't able to produce her evidence? Do we say, wow, we're pretty sure Sarah Grace lied about everything in this round, or she just must have made everything up? No, we don't do that. We recognize that the technology is hard. Not everybody is able to produce everything. We just drop that one point. So if Sarah Grace says, the only reason I win this debate is because it costs $50,000 to prep for the SAT, ACT, she's not going to win on that point. But if she had 4 other points or even 1 other point that was more, that was better than the points that I made, then she's going to win the round, right? So we just drop that one particular argument. We don't just say, okay, well, everything she said now doesn't count. You're wondering, how am I going to keep track of all of this time? You can download the NYCUDL debate timer. It is free in the App Store. It's been uploaded to the Android store or to the Google Play Store. It should be available shortly. But that's going to help you. And so sorry, Grace, actually, you were showing that. Can you just show them the prep time if it comes up?
It's
So
looking a
our-
little blurry, but it's down here.
So all you have to do is when somebody says prep, like if it's pro on the left-hand side, you start your timer. When they say I'm done, you stop their timer and you're going to keep going and it'll deduct throughout the round the 4 minutes. And the same thing is going to happen on the other side. You are going to choose virtual PF, virtual UDL PF as your format. So that's, again, the timer's free, so please download it.
And John, in answer to your other question, if you have the timer app, it shows you the amount of time for each part of it. It shows you Crossfire 3 minutes. It'll all be right there if you have the app.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so we watched this round. We saw everything that happened. How are you going to make a decision? Sorry, we had a question, Bert.
Yeah, I'm used to National Forensic League style debate, and in there you're supposed to cite your evidence. So if Sarah says, you know, it costs $50,000, so she's supposed to say, according to the New York Times, blah, blah, it costs $50,000 and that's how we know it's a cited source, or do they just say it and then it's up to somebody else to challenge it afterwards? So just so I understand how the evidence works.
So that's a great question. Ideally, in your citation, you have the author, the organization, and the year. Sometimes all of that information is not available, but it's really up to the other debater to ask that question, to challenge it. So if somebody tells you that the sky is green and the grass is blue, and the other side doesn't challenge it, well, then the sky is green and the grass is blue.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure. So, okay, you've watched the round. Oh, sorry, go ahead, question, Stan?
Sorry, I still have a question about the format.
Sure,
There was
yeah.
a space. There was a space between the two the pro and the case, the two case speaker ones, right?
Mhm.
Right in the center. So is what you're saying that there's a 4 minutes and then there's a pause? Or
There's only a pause, Dan, if they request prep time in
Okay.
between the speeches. The white sections are just to show you that's a time they'd be allowed to request prep time. But
Okay.
if they don't want it, we'll go right from the first speaker to the second
okay,
speaker.
so there's possible prep time after every speaker.
If they
right.
call for it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So how are you making your decision, right? We're not voting for the person who had the nicest voice or who kind of got us the most excited or who maybe, you know, seemed the most presidential to us. We are voting on the arguments. This is really, really important. We make our decision based on the arguments. Which argument was more persuasive to you? You don't need to worry about these terms, but here are some examples of how you could decide. So my argument affects more people than theirs. My argument affects people in the entire world. Their argument only affects people in the United States. So you should vote for us because we affect 8 billion people. I don't know if that number is correct, where their argument only affects 300 million people. Okay, the magnitude, the effect is huge. Sure, Judge, some people are gonna get sick in their world, but in our world, people die, right? If you don't do what we say, people are going to die. So you need to protect lives because losing your life is a lot more important than maybe, you know, just catching a cold. Reversibility, it can't be undone. Judge, once these people are dead, we can't bring them back. But, you know, what they're telling you, this policy change, we could, you know, in a couple of years, we'll have a new president and they'll make a different policy. It's not a big deal. We can fix that. Along those lines, we can fix that later. This is important right now. So years ago, we used to say, well, climate change, we'll deal with that, you know, 50 years from now, it's not so important. Now the arguments we make are, you know, climate change, we have to act now. If we don't act in the next 2 years, it's going to be too late for the earth. So we need to act now. You have to vote for us because you could deal with their problem later. If you don't deal with our problem now, it's going to be a problem. Probability. Sure, it's really bad if we have a nuclear war, right? Like, yeah, lots of people are gonna die. It's horrible. But like, what is the chance that we're really gonna have a nuclear war? It's like 0.001%, right? But what we're telling you, we know that that's gonna happen. It is 100% guarantee. So you need to vote for us because their thing might happen, maybe, but our thing is definitely going to happen. Prerequisite. Yeah, we all really care about education. Education is really important. We agree. But, you know, you have to be alive to get an education. So you need to vote for us because we keep people alive and you have to be alive to go to school to actually get a better education. So you need to vote for us. an a priori issue. This impact involves something that morally supersedes all others. Maybe the impact of the SAT, ACT being removed as a factor for college admissions doesn't affect a lot of people, but it affects this one particularly vulnerable group that has been historically underserved. So at this point, Judge, we can no longer ignore those people. You must vote for us because our decision affects these people who have always been underserved. Nobody's ever looking out for them. It's time to stop. You need to vote for us. Any of these things could be reasons why you vote, reasons why you don't vote for them. The other team had more evidence than you. They made more arguments, right? So if they made more good arguments, that's great. But if they gave you a 10 contention case, that's not a reason to vote for them, right? They were just better. Well, why? Let's dig into that a little bit. Why were they better? What is it that they're telling you that says like, I have to live, like, I don't want to live in the world of the pro. I want to live in the world of the con, or like, yes, let's make this change. Pro sounds like a beautiful destination. I want to go live in the pro world. Sign me up for that trip, or kind of like, please don't sign me up for the other trip. Does that make sense? So, and your best reasons for decision will tell the debaters what they could do better in the next round. So that was a really great argument you made. I wish you had a little bit more evidence to support it. Or you started with a good idea, but then you didn't really continue on with it. Next time, try to develop that a little bit more. Telling the other team, like if you tell me Sarah Grace is just better than you, I might know that. I might be like, yeah, I thought she was better too, but I don't know how to get better. Something else to remember that's really important is that if I coached anything else, if I was a play director or a soccer coach, all of my students would be right there in front of me and I would get to watch them. But if I bring 10 students to the debate tournament, they're going to be in 5 different rooms. So I have no idea what's happening. And when they come to me and they say, Mrs. Mehta, I lost the round, but I don't know why. I say, let's look up your ballot and find out what your judge said. So that information is really vital to me because what did I say? We're a teaching. So we want to take that information. And when we go back to practice this week, we're going to talk about what we could do differently, how we can improve, because we're just trying to improve against ourselves. My quick story is that, you think that everybody's going to feel bad if you lose, but that's not necessarily true. I've judged students where we've actually gone through and I've said, okay, well, here are the things that like exactly why I didn't vote for you. And I had a very happy experience that the next day they saw me, it was a 2-day tournament, and I ran into them and I was like, oh no, I didn't vote for these kids. They must hate me. And they said, oh my God, they were like, this was so great. You gave us all this information. We went back, we completely changed our cases and we won all our rounds after that. So thank you so much for your feedback. Right. So it's not just that if you don't vote for somebody that they're going to be upset. You still have an opportunity to make a positive impact and help them improve. Okay, back to you, Sarah Grace.
Great. Okay, so you've made your decision. Now, this is what we ask you to do. As soon as the round ends, you hear the final speaker's final speech. You've heard all of the speeches in the round. We ask you to say to the debaters, thanks for the amazing round of debate, something like that. I'm just going to take a second to think about what I've heard. And then I say, turn off your computer. I mean, not turn off your computer. Turn off your video, take a deep breath, look at your notes, think about what was just said, and think to yourself, who do I think won this round and why do I think they won it? Now you have your ballot in front of you. Right away, all we need from you is a few things. We don't need you to type up all your feedback right in this moment when the round has just ended. What we do need you to do is choose the winner of the round. So you're going to see a drop-down menu, win goes to. When you click the drop-down, both schools are going to come up. You're going to choose the school that won. And then this is a little protection to make sure you're choosing the right answer. Like maybe you wanted the AF or the pro or the prop, whatever you want to call it, to win, but you're mixing up the school. It's not going to let you submit it unless you're actually choosing the side of the debate that your winner debated on. So let's say you want school A to win, they were the AF, you're going to choose them from the drop down and you're going to click AF or you're going to click pro, whatever it says. Then you're going to see a section here. And we're going to talk about how to fill in these points, but you're essentially going to give each speaker points on a scale from 25 to 30. And we'll talk about when they deserve which of those scores. You can do half points. So 26 and a half, 28, 29 and a half, etc. You're going to put each of those in, you're going to choose the winner, and then you're going to press submit ballot. This is as important as pressing start round was. You're going to hit submit ballot. It's going to ask you to confirm. It's going to show you who you chose to win and all the points you assigned. This is the moment where you look back over. Yes, that's what I wanted. Click confirm. Now your ballot is on its way to us, so we can start tabulating scores. You're going to be able to go back into the ballot when the kids are gone and fill out all your feedback that Amisha was just talking about that they definitely want to hear. But after you've turned in just that, you're going to turn your camera back on and you're going to give the debaters some oral feedback. Okay. So this is a moment. Oh, and this is what we talked about earlier. Don't disclose the winner. We don't want you to tell them what you just decided. We want you to give them some feedback for them to take into the next round. And this goes back to our goals from earlier. We want to get them to go to their next round. We want to get them to go to the next tournament, but we also want to get them to go to the next round. So what can you say to them? We sometimes talk about it like glow and grow. Something really good that you did was, I really heard this argument. I felt like your team kept it going, so I really followed it. Something you could say would be, I think you could have a little more evidence for this argument. I thought it was interesting, but I'm not sure it was fully backed up. You could talk about the final speech. You were so convincing in that final speech, like way to synthesize your information. That was awesome. There's some type of oral feedback you can give. We've talked about this enough, but we don't want you commenting on the way their voice sounds, the things in their room, whether or not they were able to turn their camera on, the clothes they're wearing, et cetera.
And eye contact. Let's not forget eye contact. It's not a staring contest. Please don't comment on eye contact.
They can read off their papers. Like Amisha said, they did write this at home. I said, ignore what I'm saying about an extemporaneous style. That shouldn't be in this. That applies to Carly. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's oral feedback. So you've gone down the line. You've given some feedback to all four debaters. You did not tell them who won. And you say, great job. You four are awesome. Have a great rest of your day. The kids are going to leave. And now's your chance to go back to the ballot that you submitted in your other tab on Tab Room. You'll be able to open it back up. And that's when you add in what we've been talking about, your RFD, which means your reason for decision. So this is the moment where right down here, put feedback here, type them up. This is going to be what their coach looks at most likely, because they're going to come to their coach and say, why did I lose? And the coach is going to look at this. So this is a great moment if you have the time to really try to think in your own mind, why did I think the pro was stronger? And really write it out for them. Anything that you can to help them is incredible. So this oral feedback moment is definitely more about like encouraging them and giving them the energy to keep going. And this written moment is a great moment for you to dig a little deeper and maybe give them something to work on with their coach before they come to compete again. We have some example of bad and good reason for decisions down here at the bottom that you can look at on your own time when we send this out. Okay.
Oh, we forgot about the speaker points. I feel like we left
Oh
that.
yes, let's tell you about the speaker points, and this is the last thing.
Yeah.
You're going to give them, like I said, points on a scale from 25 to 30. Why isn't it just 1 to 5? No one knows, but it's on a scale from 25 to 30. I'll just tell you about 25 and then Amisha can tell you the rest. 25, we don't go lower than 25. 25 is for someone who basically didn't speak, was misbehaving. It's a very low score. They said something offensive. They caused trouble in the round. That's what gets you a 25. Amisha,
If
do you
you
want
need
to
to
talk?
give someone a 25, you need to come to the help desk. There are situations in which a 25 is appropriate, so you shouldn't be afraid to give it, but it's not just somebody who wasn't a great debater. They've said something offensive. You need to come to the help desk and explain to us why, where it says go to tab room is in the help desk, and you need to explain why, and then that will be entered for you, but the system will not allow you to give a 25. The first score that the system will allow you to give is a 26. A 26 debater is below average. That first 4-minute speech was only 2 minutes. They're not quite ready to be here. A 27 debater, I like to say everybody comes into the round starting with a 27 and they can work their way up or down. So a 27 is like average, meh kind of debate. A 28 debater is above average. Their argumentation begins to show some strategy. I know we have some debaters here. So for those of you, think of it, if it was a tournament with elimination rounds, would this person make it to elimination rounds? A 28-5, maybe they'd make it. A 29 debater is really good. You're definitely going to see them in elims. The argumentation is extremely persuasive and consistent throughout all the speeches. They're working with their partner. You can tell that like the first speaker and the second speaker are communicating with each other and it makes sense. The whole thing is kind of flowing through the round. A 30 is rarely given out, maybe once in a tournament. The student is basically the next Obama. Okay, I hope we have all Obama fans here, but we're big Obama fans. So something to think about. You can't say, wow, oh my God, you're like 13 and you have so much courage. You get up there. I could have never done this when I was 13. So 30, you also can't say, you know, I actually wrote my PhD thesis on this and you're missing a whole bunch of important facts that you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to give you a 26, right? We're judging them in the context of their division. So you can give half points. I should have mentioned that. You can give half points, but it's like, if you're in the novice division, this is your very first year doing this. What do I expect? You can earn a 29 much more with different things than you would earn a 29 in varsity where you've been doing this for 3 years. So again, it's in context of the division that they are in. I'm going to say this, it's really hard. Also, they're called speaker points. We like to call them debaters individual score because it's really not about their speaking, it's about their performance as an individual. This is going to be really hard for you because if you've never judged a round before and you've never been in a debate round, you're kind of like, I have no idea what the rest of the field looks like. So do your best, right? You want to probably aim to be somewhere in the middle, like in that 27.5, 28.5 range, somewhere in there, until you kind of get your bearings and you're like, okay, I've seen enough rounds, like these people are really way better than everyone else we've seen, or like, I think these people have a lot of work to do. So that's okay. You can give ties, like you can give the same speaker points to more than one person in a round. And the last thing I want to say about speaker points is this is a bracketed event. So for example, you might see, and it's definitely happened to me, I've seen sometimes like two amazing teams and they go against each other. And I'm like, oh, I have to pick a winner. And this is really, really tough because they were both so great. So maybe I pick my winner, but maybe I'm giving kind of 29s, 29.5s in that round. This is really good. And then immediately after that, I'll judge a debate and I'm like, I can't believe somebody in that other round lost. And now I have to pick somebody to win this round because it's a pretty low quality debate. So there's still going to be a winner in that round. Maybe the winner is getting a 27 and the other kids are getting 26s. So it does kind of a lot for the quality of the round because in the beginning, it's just kind of mixed pair. Eventually, the people who have the right wins and losses, they'll get paired against each other. And the points will decide who's at the high point of the bracket and who's at the low point of the bracket. So that's a little bit about speaker points. We're going to open it up now for questions. And I see Vivian has a question.
Will we know who's in the round if they're novice or experienced?
Yes, it'll say that at the top of your ballot. It'll say like NPF, which is like novice PF, or JPF, which is JVPF, or VPF, varsity PF.
Okay. And also one of the other parents at Millennium, they said the one thing that they found difficult was that the students tend to really rush through their speeches. They read them very quickly. So she likes to say in advance, like, please read it slowly so that I can, I can do my job better. Is that okay?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. Students might ask you a little bit about your background, right? So they might say, have you ever judged before? If the answer is no, be honest. This event is for judge adaptation, right? It's their job to convince you. But if you lie about who you are, they're convincing the wrong person. So if you say, yeah, I have a lot of experience doing this, and they're like, great, you know all these debate terms, I'm just going to use them because it's going to help me speed through my round. And then you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why are you using these words? Or if they ask you, are you okay with speed? Unless you have done policy debate, do not say, yes, I am okay with speed. Because you don't want, if you think I'm talking fast, they're going to talk super fast. Why? Because in 4 minutes, the faster I talk, the more arguments I can make. What I tell students is if I can't hear them, it's basically like you didn't make any arguments because I have no idea what you said. So I tell them to speak slowly. I tell them my experience level, but how somebody will debate for me is differently than how they will debate for you. If you have particular expertise in a topic, you might want to let them know that so they can use the acronyms. That'll help them go a little faster or not. But students are supposed to be making those decisions. Like, okay, you're someone who's brand new to this. I'm going to explain it one way. You can think that would be the same thing, right? If I were a doctor and I were speaking to a colleague, I would use certain language. But if I were talking to my patient who might be 6 years old, I would explain that entire thing very differently. So we want them, the point of public forum debate is to help students communicate in the real world. So anyway, I do want to say thank you to everybody for being here. We absolutely cannot do this without you. If we have 500 students in a debate tournament, we need 125 judges. So every single one of you is actually super, super important to making this happen. It's not just, hey, we have some extra people. We truly, truly need you. And being able to find judges very much is an access barrier for students. They don't always have somebody who can come and judge for them. So all of our volunteers are super, super important. We will stay on for any additional questions, but we do want to be respectful of your time. So if you need to log off, feel free. And if you have additional questions, please hang on.
And I love your cat, Stan. So glad your cat is here.
So cute.
But yes, you all are awesome. We'll send out this presentation on Friday morning. You'll get a text from Tab Room or an email text that has all the instructions you need for logging in and all these materials again. So that'll be your first text email from Tab Room. And then the next one will be your first room assignment for the tournament. Very exciting.
I actually have a question about the text email. So we're going to get a text and an email?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just in case like you don't look at your phone all the time and you're more likely to see an email. It's just so that, it's like a double.
Okay, so the same thing, the same information is in the
Same
text and the
information.
email. Gotcha. Okay.
Same information.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anything about the logistics of it? Yeah, Bert.
I have a question. Are we signaling time to the debaters like a 3, 2, 1/2, or are they responsible for keeping that themselves? Anything in terms of our responsibility of letting them know how much time they've got left, both in terms of when they're speaking and prep time?
Great question. So you don't have to give them any signals. We do ask that when their time is up, you unmute yourself and say, that's your time. Thanks so much. It's really important that they don't keep talking after the 4 minutes. It's sort of like in court when they say you can't consider this evidence. And the judge says, okay, don't consider it, but it's like, we already heard it. So like, don't let them keep going after their time. They might say something that affects your decision. So that's the one thing with time. And then other than that, whenever they're taking prep time, they should tell you, but yeah, you don't need to give any signals. Just let them know when their time is
They
up.
might ask you though, how much do I have left? Especially with little kid, they get nervous. So they'll be like, how much prep time do I have left? And it's like, they've taken like 10 seconds and they're like, do I have any prep left? Do I have any prep left? So they get really nervous. They feel like it's this commodity that can't be used. I'm always telling them to use it because again, it really does help them in the round. And at the end, if they have 4 minutes of prep left, I mean, my students know, they're like, never come back to me with any prep time on the table. Like you should have used all 4 minutes because if you didn't, there's something wrong, right? You should be taking that time just to take a deep breath, confer with your partner. Particularly, I think Nathan asked this question about what's the difference between summary and final focus. So that's an important time where partners should be talking. If I'm giving the final focus, right, summary should be talking to me and saying, what do you want to talk about in final focus? I have to make sure that I say it in summary so that you can bring it up in final focus. So those partners need to be talking. I mean, this is again, for much more strategic debate. You're not going to see all of that necessarily in a novice round. They're probably just going to give you 3 rebuttals. But as they get more strategic, it is important that they have those conversations so they agree on what it is that they want to emphasize or what it is that they want to go for in the round.
Yeah. So that's it for tonight. Thanks again for coming. And yeah, we're excited to see you in the judge lounge during the tournament. We'll be there if you have any questions. Also at the help desk, either of those are options for you. But yeah, come by, say hi. We hope you have a great time judging these rounds. The students are awesome, and I hope that they'll make you have a fun day.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.